Reading through the Bible in a year, February 26th. Exodus chapter 9, Luke 12, Job 27, and 1 Corinthians 13. Then Yahweh said to Moses, "Go into Pharaoh and say to him, Thus says Yahweh, the God of the Hebrews, Let my people go that they may serve me. For if you refuse to let them go and still hold them, behold, the hand of Yahweh will fall with a very severe plague upon your livestock that are in the field, the horses, the donkeys, the camels, the herds, and the flocks. But Yahweh will make a distinction between the livestock of Israel and the livestock of Egypt, so that nothing of all that belongs to the people of Israel shall die." And Yahweh set a time, saying, "Tomorrow Yahweh will do this thing in the land." And the next day Yahweh did this thing. All the livestock of the Egyptians died, but not one of the livestock of the people of Israel died. And Pharaoh sent, and behold, not one of the livestock of Israel was dead, but the heart of Pharaoh was hardened, and he did not let the people go. And Yahweh said to Moses and Aaron, "Take handfuls of soot from the kiln, and let Moses throw them in the air in the sight of Pharaoh, and it shall become fine dust over all the land of Egypt, and become boils breaking out in sores on man and beast throughout the land of Egypt." So they took soot from the kiln and stood before Pharaoh. And Moses threw it in the air, and it became boils breaking out in sores on man and beast. And the magicians could not stand before Moses because of the boils, for the boils came upon the magicians and upon all the Egyptians. But Yahweh hardened the heart of Pharaoh, and he did not listen to them, as Yahweh had spoken to Moses. Then Yahweh said to Moses, "Rise early in the morning, and present yourself before Pharaoh, and say to him, Thus says Yahweh, the God of the Hebrews, Let my people go that they may serve me. For this time I will send all my plagues on you yourself, and on your servants and on your people, so that you may know that there is none like me in all the earth. For by now I could have put out my hand and struck you and your people with pestilence, and you would have been cut off from the earth. But for this purpose I have raised you up, to show you my power, so that my name may be proclaimed in all the earth. You are still exalting yourself against my people and will not let them go. Behold, about this time tomorrow I will cause very heavy hail to fall, such as never has been in Egypt from the day it was founded until now. Now therefore send, get your livestock and all that you have in the field to safe shelter. For every man and every beast that is in the field and is not brought home will die when the hail falls upon them." Then whoever feared the word of Yahweh among the servants of Pharaoh hurried his slaves and his livestock into the houses. But whoever did not pay attention to the word of Yahweh left his slaves and his livestock in the field. Then Yahweh said to Moses, "Stretch out your hand toward heaven, so that there may be hail in all the land of Egypt, on man and beast, and every plant of the field, and in the land of Egypt." Then Moses stretched out his staff toward heaven, and Yahweh sent thunder and hail, and fire ran down to the earth, and Yahweh rained hail upon the land of Egypt. There was hail and fire flashing continually in the midst of the hail, very heavy hail, such as had never been in the land of Egypt since it became a nation. The hail struck down everything that was in the field and in all the land of Egypt, both man and beast. And the hail struck down every plant of the field and broke every tree of the field. Only in the land of Goshen, where the people of Israel were, was there no hail. Then Pharaoh sent and called Moses and Aaron and said to them, "This time I have sinned. Yahweh is in the right, and I and my people are in the wrong. Plead with Yahweh. For there has been enough of God's thunder and hail. I will let you go. You shall stay no longer." Moses said to him, "As soon as I have gone out of the city, I will stretch out my hands to Yahweh. The thunder will cease, and there will be no more hail, so that you may know that the earth is Yahweh's. But as for you and your servants, I know that you do not yet fear Yahweh God." The flax and the barley was struck down, for the barley was in ear and the flax was in bud, but the wheat and the emmer were not struck down, for they are late in coming up. So Moses went out from the city, from Pharaoh, and stretch out his hands to Yahweh. And the thunder and the hail ceased, and the rain no longer poured on the earth. But when Pharaoh saw that the rain and the hail and the thunder had ceased, he sinned yet again and hardened his heart, he and his servants. So the heart of Pharaoh was hardened, and he did not let the people of Israel go, just as Yahweh had spoken through Moses. Now Luke chapter 12. In the meantime, when so many thousands of the people had gathered together that they were trampling one another, Jesus began to say to his disciples, first, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees, which is hypocrisy. Nothing is covered up that will not be revealed, or hidden that will not be known. Therefore, whatever you have said in the dark shall be heard in the light. Whatever you have whispered in private rooms shall be proclaimed on the housetops. I tell you, my friends, do not fear those who kill the body, and after that have nothing more that they can do. But I will warn you whom to fear. Fear him who, after he has killed, has authority to cast into hell. Yes, I tell you, fear him. Are not 5 sparrows sold for 2 pennies? And not one of them is forgotten before God. Why, even the hairs of your head are all numbered. Fear not, you are of more value than many sparrows. And I tell you, everyone who acknowledges me before men, the Son of Man will also acknowledge before the angels of God. But the one who denies me before men will be denied before the angels of God. And everyone who speaks a word against the Son of Man will be forgiven, but the one who blasphemes against the Holy Spirit will not be forgiven. And when they bring you before the synagogues and the rulers and the authorities, do not be anxious about how you should defend yourself or what you should say. For the Holy Spirit will teach you in that very hour what you ought to say. Someone in the crowd said to him, Teacher, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me. But he said to him, Man, who made me a judge or an arbitrator over you? This is calling back to what they said about Moses. And he said to them, Take care and be on your guard against all covetousness. For one's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions. And he told them a parable, saying, The land of a rich man produced plentifully, and he thought to himself, What shall I do? For I have nowhere to store my crops. And he said, I will do this. I will tear down my barns and build larger ones, and there I will store all my grain and all my goods. And I will say to my soul, Soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Relax, eat, drink, be merry. But God said to him, Fool, this night your soul is required of you, and the things you have prepared, whose will they be? So is the one who lays up treasure for himself and is not rich toward God. And he said to his disciples, Therefore I tell you, do not be anxious about your life, what you will eat, nor about your body, what you will put on. For life is more than food, and the body more than clothing. Consider the ravens. They neither sow nor reap, and they have neither storehouse nor barn, yet God feeds them. Of how much more value are you than the birds? And which of you, by being anxious, can add a single hour to a span of life? If then you are not able to do as small a thing as that, why are you anxious about the rest? Consider the lilies, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin, yet I tell you, even Solomon, in all his glory, was not arrayed like one of these. But if God so clothes the grass of the field, which is alive in the field today, and tomorrow is thrown into the oven, how much more will he clothe you, O you of little faith? And do not be worried about what you are to eat and what you are to drink, nor be worried. Rather, do not seek what you are to eat and what you are to drink, nor be worried. For all the nations of the world seek after these things, and your Father knows that you need them. Instead, seek his kingdom, and these things will be added to you. Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Sell your possessions, give to the needy, Provide yourselves with money bags that do not grow old, with a treasure in the heavens that does not fail, where no thief approaches and no moth destroys. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. Stay dressed for action, and keep your lamps burning, and be like men who are waiting for their master to come home from the wedding feast, so that they may open the door to him at once when he comes and knocks. Blessed are those servants whom the master finds awake when he comes. Truly I say to you, he will dress himself for service and have them recline at table, and he will come and serve them. If he comes in the second watch or in the third and finds them awake, blessed are those servants. But know this, if the master of the house had known at what hour the thief was coming, he would not have left his house to be broken into. So also you must be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect. Peter said, Lord, are you telling this parable for us or for all? And the Lord said, well, who then is the faithful and wise manager, whom his master will set over his household, to give him their portion of food at the proper time? Blessed is that servant whom his master will find so doing when he comes. Truly I say to you, he will set him over all his possessions. But if that servant says to himself, my master is delayed in coming, begins to beat the female and the male servants, and to eat and drink and get drunk, the master of that servant will come on a day when he does not expect him, and at an hour he does not know, and he will cut him in pieces and put him with the unfaithful. And that servant, who knew his master's will but did not get ready or act according to his will receive a severe beating. But the one who did not know and did what deserved a beating will receive a light beating. Everyone to whom much was given, of him much will be required, and from him to whom they entrusted much, they will demand the more. I came to cast fire on the earth, and would that it were already kindled. I have a baptism to be baptized with, and how great is my distress until it is accomplished. Do you think that I have come to to give peace on earth? No, I tell you, but rather division. For from now on in one house there will be 5 divided, 3 against 2 and 2 against 3. And they will be divided, father against son, son against father, mother against daughter, daughter against mother, mother-in-law against her daughter-in-law, and daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. He also said to the crowds, when you see a cloud rising in the west, you say at once, a shower is coming. And so it happens. And when you see the south wind blowing, you say, there will be scorching heat, and it happens. You hypocrites, you know how to interpret the appearance of earth and sky. But why do you not know how to interpret the present time? And why do you not judge for yourselves what is right? As you go with your accuser before the magistrate, make an effort to settle with him on the way, lest he drag you to the judge, and the judge hand you over to the officer, and the officer put you in prison. I tell you, you will never get out until you have paid the very last penny. It's all to hear. Let's go on to Job 27. Job continues. And Job again took up his discourse and said, as God lives, who has taken away my right, and the Almighty, who has made my soul bitter, as long as my breath is in me, and the Spirit of God is in my nostrils, my lips will not speak falsehood, and my tongue will not utter deceit. Far be it from me to say that you are right. Till I die, I will not put away my integrity from me. I'll hold fast my righteousness, and I will not let it go. My heart does not reproach me for any of my days. Let my enemy be as the wicked, and let him who rises up against me be as the unrighteous. For what is the hope of the godless when God cuts him off, when God takes away his life? Will God hear his cry when distress comes upon him? Will he take delight in the Almighty? will he call upon God at all times? I will teach you concerning the hand of God. What is with the Almighty I will not conceal. Behold, all of you have seen it yourselves. Why then have you become altogether vain? This is the portion of a wicked man with God, in the heritage that oppressors receive from the Almighty. If his children are multiplied, it is for the sword, and his descendants have not enough bread. Those who survive him and the pestilence buries, and his widows do not weep. Though he heap up silver like dust and pile up clothing like clay, he may pile it up, but the righteous will wear it, and the innocent will divide the silver. He builds his house like a moth's, like a booth that a watchman makes. He goes to bed rich, but will do so no more. He opens his eyes, and his wealth is gone. Terrors overtake him like a flood. In the night a whirlwind carries him off. The east wind lifts him up, and he is gone. It sweeps him out of his place. It hurls at him without pity. He flees from its power in headlong flight, and it claps at him and hisses at him from its place. And that is all the notes, but it's having trouble pulling them up here. There we go. Let's conclude today in 1 Corinthians chapter 13. Now, everybody knows the love chapter. If you've ever been at a wedding or seen one on television, this is typically what they pull from. Because everybody believes this to be about romantic love. This is the wedding section. But it's not. I mean, it partially is, but functionally, really, it's not. It's not intended just for, love between a man and his wife. This is the love that we have with those in the church. Remember, the underlying theme of this entire letter is unity and love. The same love he spoke of before when he said, if it offends my brother that I eat meat that I got from an idol temple, then I will never eat meat. From this, I can deduce he loves eating meat, and as well he should. He was a good Jew who now can eat bacon as much as he wants. He can eat bacon with cheese, that's meat and dairy, two things that under the Mosaic law they're not to mix together. He can have both of those together, and he can actually have a bacon cheeseburger. It's an amazing thing, and he can finally eat those. But he says even in the love of Christ, he will refuse to eat that which his soul loves. Again, bacon cheeseburgers. It's in the Greek. It's there, I promise. But he will refuse to eat that thing. He will refuse to pursue any of his Christian liberties that he's allowed to within the gospel if it harms somebody else, if it harms their walk before him, if it leads them to sin against their conscience. He will flat out refuse to do so. And so that's the point that he's making. In the last chapter, he talked about spiritual gifts and how the people were elevating certain gifts over others, and they were not showing love in the way that they handle one another, in the way that they handle any of these things. So smack dab in the middle of this section where he's explaining about spiritual gifts and how those all work together. Tomorrow, you can see at the bottom of the screen, we're going to go right back into spiritual gifts and how they are properly administered. He will also go into how the church service should be handled, because they were even screwing that up. And he'll flat out explain the process. But he's going to show them how to do it with the love of Christ, with the unity of Christ, as the primary point of the gathering. So why is it that he would drop in the middle of this entire chapter, in this entire letter, in a letter of correction, a side note about marital love? He doesn't. This is all under the same theme. And so as we read this text, that is the point that he's making. In fact, as we go back to the previous verse here, he states, actually, I'm going to go back a little bit further. I'm going to go back to verse 28. Verse 28, chapter 12. And God, no, I'll go 27. And now you are the body of Christ and individually members of it. And God has appointed in the church first apostles, second prophets, third teachers, then miracles, gifts of healing, helping, administrating, and various kinds of tongues. Are all apostles? Are all prophets? Are all teachers? Do all work miracles? Do all possess gifts of healing? Do all speak with tongues? Do all interpret? The answer to this, obviously, is no. That's the point he's trying to make. Continuing in verse 31, but earnestly desire the higher gifts. Sign gifts are fancy, good-looking things that get people interested in the truth about Christ. They point to the facts of what the evangelists and what the preachers are saying, but they're just skin deep. They just grab the attention of the people. The deeper things come through teaching. They come through the truth of evangelism, through the actual hands-on work of administration and helps. You know someone in your church who's just an amazing deacon, who doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter what time of day it is, he will hop out of bed and he will come over and help you with whatever you have, with whatever you need. That is the gift of helps. I honestly don't think that there is a single greater gift. I've heard a lot of amazing preachers. I've heard a lot of really great messages. But when someone is so willing to give up everything to come and help you simply for the cause of Christ, that preaches better than any sermon that I've seen or heard. That's why this is smack dab in the middle of this section. It begins in verse 1. If I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, this is called hyperbole. He's showing the both ditches of the possible things that are available. On one side, I don't know if you've driven on a country road, but they're crowned. It's kind of like this, right? Whatever. Anyway, they go like that, so that they don't have to do as much work to maintain these roads. Rainwater, snow, etc. will melt and kind of fall off on the side into the ditches. And so what he's showing here is he's showing everything from one side to the other. If I could speak in all of the languages of man that exist anywhere, that's on one side. And if I can speak with all the languages of the angels, whatever those might theoretically be, on the other side. He's not saying there's a secret language of angels and you must try to figure out what it is. No. He's saying theoretically, if I could talk in all languages that exist, but have not love, I'm a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. What does he mean? He says, I'm just making noise and I'm useless. Verse 2, and if I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but have not love, I am nothing. if I give away all that I have, and if I deliver up my body to be burned, but have not love, I gain nothing. Now we get into the love section. No, we've been in it this entire letter. Now he's describing for you what true Christian love is. This isn't just between you and your spouse. This is between you and every member of your church. And this is also how we're to treat those outside the church. Because we understand that the only thing that separates us from people outside the church is the election of God, and he could choose to save them tomorrow. So we have no right or reason to have anything to claim against someone else. We were chosen by God, not because we're great and wonderful and amazing, but because he's perfect and we're not. We are entirely without any redeemable quality. And it's for that reason that he chose us. You go, wait a minute, well, that means that he could have chosen someone else instead of me. Exactly. So then how then should we treat one another? Verse 4. Love. Christian love. And you can, every time I read through this, I always insert the word Christian before what I'm going to say to drive the point home. It's not in the text, but the impression is that it should be there. Continuing. Christian love is patient and kind. Christian love does not envy or boast. Christian love is not arrogant or rude. Christian love does not insist on its own way. Christian love is not irritable or resentful. Christian love does not rejoice at wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. Christian love bears all things, believes all things. Someone comes to you and tells you that, for the 80th time, hey, I think I'm finally at a point where I'm no longer going to do that thing that I've been doing my whole life. Even though they've been living their life and with a relentless pursuit of, self-deception and self-gratification. A Christian will take that understanding so that their heart doesn't get broken if it fails again. But they'll come right back alongside that person and say, I believe in you. And I believe that God can do that through you. And I look forward to seeing it done. Christian love believes all things. Christian love hopes all things. Christian love endures all things. Christian love never ends. As for prophecies, they will pass away. As for tongues, they will cease. As for knowledge, it will pass away. For we know in part and we prophesy in part, but when the perfect comes, the partial will pass away. When I was a child, I spoke like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. And when I became a man, I gave up childish ways. For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then I shall know fully, even as I have been fully known. So now, faith, hope, and love abide, as in live and remain. But the greatest of these is love. You know why? Faith is knowing that something is going to happen and trusting that it will take place. But you still have to believe it without seeing it. Because if you know it's going to happen, if you if you can have it completed, let's say that you think you have a bonus coming from work, right? You've done well all year. You know that theoretically or not theoretically, but your company historically has always given a bonus at the end of the year. So you expect that bonus. You have faith that that bonus will come. But until the bonus actually shows up, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But you still have faith that it'll be there. When that bonus comes, do you still have faith that it'll come? No, it's already there. Hope. Hope is another one. Hope is in something that we are sure is going to take place. But when it finally does take place, do we still hope that it'll happen? No, because it's already been completed. Love, however, never ends. Love persists through all of it. Love exists before this took place, and it'll exist afterward. That's why the greatest of these is love. All right, that's it for today. That is all the reading and all of the notes. God willing, we'll be back tomorrow. Behold the word of the Lord.